Make every night a wonderful journey, no matter where you are. Here is your harbor of the soul. Good night, sweet dreams. The first story, The Intruder. The Intruder is a silhouette and similar in shape to a Siamese cat. When sitting, it is about 7.5 feet tall. It has two overly large, slanted eyes, which glow a bright fluorescent green, and have no pupils. It blinks these eyes occasionally other than the eyes. It has no other discernible facial or body features. Whenever you enter your home after dark, the intruder is always watching. It's about 10 feet away from you in plain view. It remains immobile and does not even try to conceal its presence while outside. It can only be seen by one person at a time. If it were to be within the sight range of two people, then the first person who sees the intruder would remain being able to see, while it would remain completely invisible to others. It emits no noises of its own. The only time it can be heard is when it is stretching its claws on a tree or your house siding. If you approach it, then it will run away very quickly and violently, kicking up dirt and rocks. The sounds of the wind from the intruder's movements and flying debris from under the intruder's feet can be heard. If you were to throw an object toward it or discharge a firearm at it, you would get the same effect. Once you turn back to the door to insert you will find that the intruder has noiselessly returned to its previous position, where it continues to watch you. Some say that the intruder listens to your key. The lock. They say that the intruder can eventually ascertain the shape of your keys simply by hearing the pins of your lock moving. It isn't known how many times the intruder must hear you unlock your door before it could determine the exact shape of your key. You see, the intruder wants to kill you. That is, if this creature is even capable of wanting anything. Perhaps it is better to say that it intends to kill you. However, the intruder can only kill you inside your house and may not force its way in. Furthermore, it cannot enter an empty house. You must already be at home in order for it to enter. If you were to run outside of your house, once the intruder enters, the intruder will pursue you, drag you back inside, and then kill you. If you ever hear a key hitting your door in the dead of night, then it may be the intruder trying out its key that it has made. The intruder only tries to use its keys when it is close to perfecting them. So if you do hear it trying to unlock your door, then you can be certain that it will have a proper working key within a few nights. If you enter your house through another means, for example a garage or screen door, then you may suddenly find it inoperable from the outside. Through both remote or attempted physical operation of the door, if you attempt to leave your door unlocked in order to prevent the intruder from hearing the shape of your key, then you may be disappointed to find that the door has been locked by the time you arrive at home. If you hear a key, if you lock, it is advised that you turn off all of your lights and attempt to push on the door to try and prevent the intruder from entering. Although it likely outweighs you once the intruder enters your house, all light sources above that of a candle become blinding to all inhabitants other than the intruder. If you have time to light a candle, then it is suggested, as this will allow you to see the silhouette without becoming blinded. A very small advantage that you may have is that once it is inside a home, all inhabitants are able to see the intruder simultaneously. The intruder will kill every human inside of the house. It will only attack pets if the animal chooses to engage the intruder. Most animals choose not to engage. The only time that the intruder will make any noise of its own is during a killing strike. The intruder will make a quick hissing sound during this strike, and will not make this noise again until it claims its next victim. The intruder has never been known to kill anyone without hissing at the killing blow. It will usually try to completely disable its prey to the point where it cannot move before such an action is taken. It is thought that the intruder prefers to disable its prey before a kill strike, because the act of hissing may be the only time that it is vulnerable to damage. This is purely speculation, however. The second story sick. I slept fine last night. Didn't sleep so well Sunday, though it was my own fault, really. I did tell him he was welcome in if he pleased. My dream began like one of those horror games you might see, like Silent Hill or Alone in the Dark. It was night out, and almost pitch black. I was holed up in some building, hiding from something, or waiting. I peeked out. The door was glass and had some rule stickers on it. I suppose I was in a corner store. Upon looking out, I saw deserted street. Lit by a few dim street lamps, the street was dead empty, and silent. I seemed to be in the middle of a city, yet there was nothing. I tentatively opened the door, creeping out into the cold night. Ever have one of those dreams where you can feel what's happening? This was one of those dreams. I turned left out the door and began walking. The street was sloped, and I was going down. Suddenly, I stopped in front of a building, looking to my left at it. It seemed like a small house, not one like you'd see in the city. It was in shambles, a light gray-blue color. I felt the need to go in, to see the inside. I crept up to the door and turned the handle. Opening the door, I looked and there wasn't much but a few boxes, a table. I moved silently towards the bed. On it slept a person. I glared down at her for a few moments, her sleeping figure taunting me. I bent down, picked up an object, and swung. The brick ensured that she would not wake up soon. Dropping the bloody, hair-mudded brick, a message flashed through my mind, clear as day. A dark, deep, raspy voice speaking through my mind. The sinew will sew together the darkness and damnation. I only know of one kind of sinew. It's the stuff inside of you, connected to your muscles and bones, that lets you move the way you can. Looking over to the table, I saw the moonlight glinting off something. I walked over and there sat a knife, placed perfectly in the center, the blade facing away from me. He knew I was coming. He knew he could tell me to do this. He knew I would oblige. I picked up the knife and walked back over to the unconscious form in the bed before me. Her blonde hair was spilled out around her head bleeding profusely. I feel now as though I recognized her, but I can't be sure. I tore the sheet off of her and brought the knife down to her, stripping her flesh from bone, until her muscles were all visible. I began grabbing at the sinew, slicing at it, and piled it all up. Once I'd gathered all I could, I began wrapping it around itself. It formed a blindfold. I put it on, and all was black, until the darkness was filled with an image. A house far off, silhouetted against the night sky. Top it was a figure, and a dog. The dog howled, and the figure turned towards me. His tattered cowl flapped in a soundless wind. His blazing eyes bored into me, the blood-red beads that were his pupils boring into my soul. He grinned at me, knowing he'd just gotten one step closer to corruption. I began calling him, like in many dreams. There were things I could not control. My voice was strained, and even though I shouted out and hard as I could, the sound traveled mere feet. I woke up soon after that, feeling as though I had not slept at all, and I knew I hadn't. That wasn't sleep. Dee brought me into his world. He'd done so many times before, and he'd watched what I did as I was placed in a deserted carnival, in a school of ravenous creatures waiting to devour me. and my closest friend. He is there sometimes, my friend, but I think I know why. I think he's sick too. I looked around and knew where I'd been. I knew what I'd seen, the sinew will sew together darkness and damnation. And it had. He'd shown himself to me. He was no longer what he'd been, a shapeless shadow. A shadow with eyes, one with a cowl and a demon grin, one whose eyes glowed hot with flames, one who spoke to me and caressed my face with clawed, shadowed hands. No. He has a shape now, he is real. He's come so far, there's no way I can get rid of him now. He needs a vessel, and he's chosen me. Besides, everyone is a little sick, even if they don't want to believe it. The third story. Hope. A gentle breeze blew through the little valley, pushing the perfectly formed clouds leisurely across the sky. The tall, green grass echoed the movement in the sky above, swaying gently as the cool sunlight reached across to the distant horizon. Birds sang soothingly in a tree atop a slight hill, casting shade upon a lone figure. He shifted slightly in his sleep, and gradually awoke. The man stood up slowly, shakily, and gazed around. He had not seen such beauty in eons. The man knew this place. He placed one foot in front of the other, and began to move forward. His progress was slow, painful even, but his pace quickened with each step. Soon, he was dashing carefree along the valley, his footsteps light and easy. He climbed a hill, and was able to see a small town in the distance. He had made good time. The sun was still high in the sky. The man ran down the hill, towards the little bundle of houses. The sun sank gradually behind him, and the clouds darkened subtly. The man's steps were now huge, bounding leaps. The man soared over serene fields of flowers, full of life and vibrantly colored. The sun sank still lower, shooting the cloudy sky with many beautiful hues. The man leapt and flew through the air, surrounded by such indescribable beauty that tears streamed down his face. Still, he pushed towards the town. Still, the sun sank, the clouds gathered. He was now near enough that he could see the many inhabitants of the little town, all his friends, all his family, merely a heartbeat away. A tiny sob escaped the man's throat as he saw his wife and children standing at the edge of town, waiting for him. He pushed off from the ground with all his might, propelling himself into their welcoming arms. The sun met the horizon, and the world was consumed in fire. A pair of hounds rushed out from the flames and grabbed the man, dragging him back to the earth. The man grasped for his family, but the creatures held him just out of reach. The animals dragged the man back towards the fire as the clouds blotted out the sky and began to rain fire down onto the little village, pulling its inhabitants and twisting the landscape. The man sobbed in horror as he watched his world being destroyed again. He had almost made it. This time, hell would be easy, if not for hope. Credited to Dr. J.E.L. John Shin.